Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's no one else around? Me and you and awkward silence. Don't you dare look at me that way. I don't need reminders of how you don't feel the same. Oh, the burning pain. Listening to you harp on about some new soulmate. She's so perfect, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how I wish you'd wake up one day. Run to me, confess your love. At least just let me say that when I talk to you, won't you bet walks right through and shoots right out through my heart. And I sound like a loon, but don't you feel it to confess I loved you from the start. What's a girl to do? Lying on my bed staring into the blue. Unrequited, terrifying. Love is driving me a bit insane. Have to get this off my chest. I'm telling you today that when I talk to you, won't you bet walks right through and shoots right out through my heart. And I sound like a loon, but don't you feel it to confess I loved you from the start. Confess I loved you, just thinking of you. You know I've loved you from the start.
Hello, 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 y'all. We might be having some weird technical difficulties. I had one moment. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's flickering in and out. Please let me know in chat, y'all, if things are working for you. Hi. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with y'all. Hey, Apurv. Okay. For a brief moment when I looked at this, it was giving me the "your stream is down" emote. So I refreshed the stream and hopefully it's working now. Hello, hello. We have 55 people here right now, which is amazing. I just realized that I didn't turn my light on, so I'm a little bit in shadow. I will be right back with my light. Okay. We are ready and we are here. And oh my goodness, hello. The number just keeps going up. I always forget that the first stream of a Global Hack Week is always the most popular. Welcome, everyone. For those of you who have not been to one of my streams before, hi, I'm Dimmer. I'm a coach at Major League Hacking. Ooh, okay. Looks like things have stabilized, both in terms of technical difficulties and the viewership numbers. Rust time, yes. I'm so excited. I've only heard good things about Rust, but I have yet to use it myself. I just recently started going back to school for computer science, and my class that I'm taking on data structures is taught in C++. So I am excited to program in a more modern language with some less jank. I do most of, for those of you who've been to my streams before, you'll know that I do most of my random small projects in Python, and then if I want to build something that's a little bit more fully featured, I'll break out JavaScript. Recently switched to TypeScript. But either way, neither of those are languages that are well known for their reliability or their consistency. So I'm excited to learn about Rust. Again, like I said in the announcement in Discord, the reason why that connects to this week, Web3 week, is most famously, Rust is the language of Solana smart contracts. And I do not know how to make a Solana smart contract. We're not going to be talking about how to make a Solana smart contract, but Rust is a language that is used in Web3, so learning it can help you if you want to make Web3 projects. For those of you who've not been to my stream before, we have a couple things that are different about this than other ones, which is partly why we had the couple minutes of technical difficulties there. We have this exclamation point TTS down in the corner, where if you type a message in chat with the exclamation point TTS, if I can type it correctly,
hello,
you can hear it read out loud by a text-to-speech voice. Whenever this is up on screen, that'll be available. Sometimes it gets turned off, depending on how busy things are and stuff like that. We also have channel point rewards, which have been left on, which is my fault. I've refunded everyone who's spent channel point rewards in like the past month. So in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this little circle with a little line in it. And if you click on that, you can spend some of your channel point rewards on one of these 9 different sound effects, in this case. Hello, 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 y'all. You can redeem that.
Hi.
It only works, hello, Firemaster. It only works on this stream, unfortunately. We are looking into that, but it's a little bit of a technical hurdle there. And theoretically, I have a button on my dashboard to turn it off when I'm done, but I'm not the best at it. So again, those have been refunded as well. Those are like the things that usually make this stream different. I also am very famous on going off on tangents occasionally, so feel free to ask questions in chat, to talk. It's one of my favorite things about streaming with MLH is the community. With that, let's Rust.
JavaScript and stability in the sentence.
Yes, yes. Again, this was a thing we were talking about. Aha. Wow. I'm trying to figure out how much of a delay there is between JavaScript and stability in the same sentence. Hello. I'm going to send him a test. Okay, that just came right through. So we'll see. I don't know. That was very fast for me, which means that there's not much. Okay. Great. The latency is not as bad as I thought it was for a second. I thought the JavaScript and stability in the same sentence, very true, very funny, was a reference like as that person was hearing it, they were typing it, and that would mean that there was like a 2-minute delay. I'm glad that there is not. With that, the TTS latency seems big though. TTS latency is the same amount of latency that there is in chat latency. So the difference between you typing something in chat and like basically as soon as my computer receives that chat message, it is read out loud with TTS. So it is a good test of, and if again, this chat right here, TTS, this chat should be in sync because they're pulling from the same source. Latency is occasionally a problem that I have on the stream. With that, again, feel free to ask questions in chat. We're here to talk. We're here to hang out. We're going to get started with learning Rust. So if you go to rustlang.org, this is the website that is Rust. And it specifically has right here the Rustlings course, which is what we're going to be following. Because it walks you through downloading and setting up the Rust toolchain and teaches you the basics of reading and writing Rust syntax on the command line. Basically, it's the fact that it works in your own environment, where a lot of different languages now have this sort of like Rust by example. In this case, it's Rust, but like where you have these like editable code blocks that are talking about these things. But I've always found that slightly difficult for me to internalize personally because it is like on this one website and in this one place. So the ability to do it locally on my own machine is very exciting. So that's what we're going to be following. Again, the big things with Rust, if you haven't heard of it before, it's very popular, so a lot of people are talking about it. But if you have not heard about it before, I'm trying to figure out where they have a page somewhere. About why Rust, basically. And that's what I want to pull up for y'all. Why use Rust? GitHub blog is an okay source for this. Rust. Great. Here we go. It has, I'm skipping over this. This is the nuts and bolts of what people love, is the way that it does. I'm going to just read from this concurrency, no garbage collection. It has a great package manager, zero cost abstractions, pattern matching, and type inference. Those are all slightly above my like understanding level of like why this is important. But to summarize, Rust is used for building performance critical backend systems, and operating system adjacent code, web development, crypto and blockchain development, why we're here, and CLI tools. All of these are uses of Rust. But the thing that I think of when I think of why Rust is the thing that I've consistently heard, and we'll figure out how true that is that Rust changes where you spend your time developing. Where Rust is more particular, and it is more, I don't know if complex is the right word, but it's more particular is I think the right word, where you will have more compiler errors and fewer runtime errors. So it might take you, if I could write something in Python in 2 hours and it took me 6 hours to debug, I might be able to write that in Rust in 4 hours. So I've doubled the amount of time I've spent writing code, but debug it in 1 hour. And that's the trade-off I've always heard with Rust, where it is that it forces you to write better code, and that some people claim that being a Rust developer and learning Rust helps you be a better developer in other languages as well. That's all the hype that I have going into this, where again, the idea that it might take you a little bit longer to write, but it'll be more reliable and will take less time to debug. Also, it is very fast. Rust is more C than C. That is the sort of thing that I hear about, like, it being very fast, very reliable, and then again with a nice package manager. Where if you've ever dealt with package management in Java, maybe it's just because I don't understand it very well, but there are a lot of languages that don't have great package management. So that's what I've heard about Rust and why we're going to be learning it over the next 3 streams, I believe we have dedicated to this, and we're going to be using Rustlings for that. Thank you for the follow, Juhi. With that, I'm going to take a look here. Greetings and welcome to Rustlings. Getting started. Note, if you're on macOS, make sure you've installed Xcode and its developer by tools. I'm like 99% sure that I have those. But I know that I do not have Rust. Thankfully, I'm on a Unix operating system. JavaScript and great package management mentioned in the same stream. I will say, oh, hey, Phasic. JavaScript NPM is very easy to use. JavaScript package management is a solved thing. Java package management, whew. C++, C package management. I don't even know if C does packages. I have not had really any experience with C. But okay, let's open up a terminal, and I'm going to install Rust. Standard installation is fine. Also solves a lot of buffer problems, buffer overflows, and pointer ownership issues by not allowing those types of programming errors to even compile at all. Wonderful. Again, I'm taking some like programming theory stuff, and it's my first class in C++, and so much of what we have been learning is basically how not to break everything. Okay, great. Rust is installed. Very excited to learn. Me too. Conan is a package manager for C, C++. Cool. I did not know that this was a thing. It makes sense. Amazing. Oh my goodness, wait, tangent alert, but The Birth and Death of JavaScript is a wonderful talk that I'm going to share in the chat with y'all. I watched it a couple of days ago. And it is a talk that was done, 2014. So this was like the huge meteoric rise of JavaScript. And it is hilarious because it goes up to 2035, and the future of JavaScript that he envisions is great, and he's a great speaker, and I highly recommend. It is what I immediately thought of when I was thinking about like all of the different tools that are added on top of programming languages. Highly recommend. Very fun talk. Okay, we've installed Rust. I'm like 99% sure I have Xcode tools already set up, but I'm going to run this just in case. It's going to tell me they're already installed. Yep, they're already installed. Great. Destroyallsoftware.com. Yeah, he is a technologist who does, or at least used to do, like screencasts and classes and things like that. Wow. He calls them screencasts, and that's what I'm quoting, but that tells you what era of the internet this is from, because screencast is not a thing that people use to describe this anymore. Okay, great. We've installed Rust. Oh, it's very funny that here's the Rust installer right here. Okay, this will install. Oh, okay. Now this is installing Rustlings. Before we installed Rust, now we install Rustlings. I've been spending a lot of time setting up some personal servers, so living out of SSH into shells, watching these sort of interfaces download and set up. I see my internet is kind of bouncing against some slowdowns here. I haven't lost connection yet, but there have been some oh, it was when I was downloading this. Ha. Okay. When I'm downloading something, that makes sense why my internet connection might slow down a bit. Great. Okay. Now if I just run Rustlings. Let me see if I can make this bigger for us. There we go. Great. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the follow, Yamini. Thank you for installing Rustlings. Is this going to be your first time? Don't worry, Rustlings is made for beginners. Woot woot, yay. We are going to teach you a lot of things about Rust, but before we can get started, here are a couple of notes about how Rustlings operates. 1, the central concept behind Rustlings is that you solve exercises. Can you paste the GitHub instructions into the chat? Yes, thank you. Here is the GitHub for Rustlings. That did not paste. That pasted. There we go. That's the GitHub that I'm following right here. The central concept is that you solve exercises. These exercises will usually have some sort of syntax error in them, which will cause them to fail compilation or testing. Sometimes there's a logic error instead of a syntax error. No matter what error, it's your job to find it and fix it. You'll know when you fixed it because the exercise will compile and Rustlings will be able to move on to the next exercise. This is, I knew a little bit about this from reading some documentation on it, but I am very excited for this because it sounds, maybe I enjoy the idea of learning in this way. School can be sometimes stressful because of all of the grades and the pressure and things like that. But the idea of doing this sort of like puzzle problem solving stuff, this is, a lot of people do chess puzzles like this. And the idea of doing this for Rust or for a programming language sounds very fun for me. Okay. If you run Rustlings in watch mode, which we recommend, it'll automatically start with the first exercise. Don't get confused by an error message popping up as soon as you run Rustlings. This is part of the exercise that you're supposed to solve, so open the exercise file in an editor and start your detective work. If you're stuck on an exercise, there's a helpful hint you can view by typing hint in watch mode or running Rustlings hint exercise name. If an exercise doesn't make sense to you, feel free to open an issue on GitHub. We look at every issue, and sometimes other learners do too, just to help each other out. That is very cool. I didn't even think about using GitHub as a place for you to ask questions. I'm so used to like dedicated forums to that. If you want to use Rust analyzers with exercises which provides features like auto completion, run the command Rustlings lsp. I'm going to do this. Great. Okay. Rust analyze will now parse exercises, restart your language server or editor. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be using our dedicated terminal. I'm going to be using Zed, which is what we were using last time. Because Zed is a wonderful, weird text editor that is like compiled like a video game. Where's their graphic for it? They have a very fun graphic for how it is rendered. Okay, it might have changed. There we go. Where each thing is rendered. Anyway, very interesting text editor, but it is designed mainly as a Rust editor. Like, this is a Rust shop that wanted to build a cool editor. So that's what we're going to be using. It's macOS only, so apologies. But you can use any editor that runs on your machine. VS Code would probably be the classic choice. I'm going to try this and we'll see if it is a mistake. It is what we were using for our last project. So I'm going to create a new window. Great. And we are going to run Rustlings watch. Rustlings watch. CD Rustlings. Rustlings watch. Great. Okay. Hello and welcome to Rustlings. This exercise compiles successfully. The remaining exercises contain a compiler or logic error. The central concept behind Rustlings is to fix these errors and solve the exercises. Good luck. The source for this exercise is in exercises intro 1 RS. So let me open that folder. Can I move this to... That's not... There we go. Great. Better. File. Open. I'm actually going to stop screen sharing because I don't know where it put these files on my computer. Thank you, Phasic. For VS Code users, a general FYI/PSA, use rustlang.rust-analyzer extension, not the rustlang rust one, because it has superseded the old one. Very good to know. Great, okay. Okay, needed to reset some things, but here we go. We're back. This is the exercises folder of Rustlings, which was stored for me in my user folder. Rustlings watch. Great. Hopefully that should be readable. Okay. This exercise compiles successfully. The remaining exercises contain a compiler or logic error. This really is not... Uh-oh. This is not designed to be a terminal built into your IDE by the looks of it. So we're going to open back up my dedicated terminal. This would be easier if I was not streaming and thinking about how y'all can see it as well. Okay, we're going to cd Rustlings. Great. Okay. Source is in intro1.rs. So in intro, intro 1 rs. Oh, huh, this is fun. That it is printing that. Oh, I understand. Are we going to see any example smart contracts in Rust? Not in this stream. This stream is just about Rust, the programming language, not about its use in blockchain. Okay. About this I am not done thing. Sometimes we encourage you to keep trying things on a given exercise even after you've already figured it out. If you got everything working and feel ready for the next exercise, remove the I am not done comment below. If you are running this using Rustlings watch, the exercise file will be reloaded when you change one of the lines below. Try adding a print line, or try changing what outputs in your terminal. Try removing a semicolon and see what happens. Okay, well, I'll start with removing a semicolon. Okay, compiling has failed. Please try again. Here's the output. Expected, semicolon. Help, add semicolon here. That's a pretty nice compiler. You can also see that it's down here in our editor. If I try another print line, hello world. We're now missing a semicolon, semicolon, save, and we go back. Hey, there's hello world. Okay. Great. Okay, we've moved on to the next exercise. Intro 2. Make the code print a greeting to the world. Interesting. I'm curious why this didn't compile. Let's take a look at our compiler error here. One positional argument in format string, but no arguments were given. Are we going to see generics in Rust eventually? Generics right up here. So again, we're going to be doing this for 3 streams, so we'll see how far we get, but hopefully we'll get there. I'm curious if I were to do what are my errors here? We have not even taught variables yet. So it might just be asking us to replace that with world. If we do that, unclosed, okay, it is compiled. Now I'm hoping this is still the intro. This is just us testing to make sure. Great, we're done. Okay, variables 1, we have now moved on to variables. Great. Are y'all able to follow what we're doing and how this stream is going to run? Where we have this like list here of all of the different, like basically small puzzles that they have designed in order to teach us Rust. And then we have our compiler over here that is running them. And I can switch between them like this. I'm actually going to close out of our browser here just so we have a simpler. Great. Great. Okay. That should be faster as well. Variables 1. Variables 1. Make me compile. Great. Okay, this is what I assumed we were doing. X equals 5. X has the value. Oh. Okay, this is not exactly what I was thinking it was going to be. Cannot find value X in the scope. You might have meant to introduce a new binding. Okay. Let X equals 5. Code is compiling. Okay. Let X equals 5. Feels very JavaScript to me. Maybe that's sacrilege. What does the Rust file compile into? Some kind of bytecode? Many different things. It's one of the unique things about, well, not many languages compile into many different things, but Rust can compile into JavaScript. It can compile into TypeScript. It can compile into WebAssembly. And I believe it can compile into a C language of some kind. What does Rust compile to? After compiling successfully, Rust outputs a binary executable. So rather than, yeah, so I'm forgetting if bytecode is what I think it is, or if it is. Yeah, okay. So it is not going to be bytecode, because bytecode is a Java specific thing that goes into the Java machine. So Java compiles into bytecode that then goes to the JVM that then becomes machine readable. It is just a binary object, like if you were to compile C++. So to follow along, we download the repo and open it in VS Code. You will also download the tool. Let me put the link in chat again. There's a command line tool that you download and install. This GitHub talks about all of it. Okay. Let X error type annotation needed. Let X if X is equal to 10. We're on variables 2 here. Let X if X equal 10. Print line X is 10. Else print X is not 10. And it can't be auto-typed because we aren't setting anything into it. So, int, let's try this. Int not found in the scope. Perhaps you intended to use this type, I32, which is much more specific. Maybe make it an int. Make it an int indeed, hopefully. We'll see. Okay. Consider assigning it a value. Equals 0. Great. Now my question is, because we're assigning it a value, can I remove the type declaration? Amazing. Okay, so it is you only technically, or at least thus far, to our understanding, we need to declare types for variables that are not initialized with a value. Great. Let's move on to variables 3. Okay. Used binding X isn't initialized. Great. Basically, it's telling us that we're using something before it actually has a value. Oh, which is nice. I'm trying to think. In other languages, it would throw an error here if it was not. What is, oh goodness, I'm blanking on, it's variable initialization versus instantiation. Declaration and initialization. So if a variable is declared but not initialized, theoretically, most places we'd be allowed to do this. Circuit student, let's set it to 5. Great, and that worked. Okay. Variables 4. Let x equal 3. First assignment to x. Consider making this binding mutable. I think here we go. Let x equals 3. X equals 5. Oh, thank you, Phasic. That's what I was missing. Yes. Contrast with C++ variables not being initialized to a value can have garbage data in them whenever happened to be left over in RAM. I literally was learning about that last week. Okay. So in essence, let here, unlike TypeScript or JavaScript, where you use let to just define a variable, cannot assign twice to an immutable variable. Let is for constants. So if we make it mutable, expected expression, item, or let statement. Let mute. Oh, let mute. Rust won't compile the program and warns you instead. It's a common theme. Rust compiler will prevent you from getting into situations like that. Fingers crossed. That is the exciting thing. Okay, so let mute to create a mutable variable. Oh, I don't have autosave here. That's why I occasionally have these moments of I'm just like sitting here waiting for it to. Okay. One exception if you use unsafe, but that's an advanced topic. Good to know. It's always nice when you have guardrails that you can take down if you need it, just in case. But to organic oil, sorry I joined late. Are we using a framework? Will you go over API routing? We are not using a framework. And I don't believe we'll be going over anything like API routing because we are just focusing on the language features themselves. Is there a Rust debugger for VS Code? Yes, Phasic talked about this. The best one for you to use. Scrolling through chat. I'm just copying Phasic's message here and pasting it again. There you go. Give me 1 second. Okay. Those of you who've been to my streams before know that I like to take a bio break about halfway into it, and we are not halfway into it. But I just realized that I've only drank coffee today. And I'm like, why am I struggling so much on stream? Like, I feel like I'm really like tired and in my brain, and I haven't eaten anything. So we're gonna take a 5-minute break. We're gonna take it early so that I can eat something so I don't pass out live on stream. And then we will be back. Don't only drink coffee, y'all. That's, in hindsight, not a smart idea. Let me set a timer for 5 minutes. Batu was specifically thanking Phasic, because Phasic's the one who had that information. I was just copying it. Okay. Great. I will throw a timer up on screen. We'll have 5 minutes, and I will be back to continue this, hopefully in a slightly better physical state.
Okay.
I almost forgot. I have a dedicated song that I use for this. Great. Okay. You would think after doing this for years, I would be slightly better at... Okay, here we go.
2, 3, and 4. Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have. Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have. Find that you have so much. 頑張りすぎる自分に疲れてふと泣けてきた真夜中のバスルームでまだ手にしたことのない幸せがどこかにある気がして焦るのは年のせい楽しく生きてきたの何一つ悔やんでないけど曇った鏡のように明日が見えない Can't you see, can't you see 自由と孤独は二つでセット気ままなこと寂しさもついてくる Don't you know, don't you know 隣の芝生が青く見えたらこの庭に花を植えればいい Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have. Find that you have so much. ないもの無駄にしながらみんな迷って生きてる大人になってからも足元に咲いた綺麗な花に気づくだけで人は嬉しい気持ちになれるようにいつか胸の奥に抱えたジレンマの迷路抜ければ本当に大事なもの知る日が来るだろう Can't you see, can't you see どんな道を選んだとしても悩みの数同じだけついてくる You can choose, you can choose 私が決める私のプライオリティ何を取って何を諦めるの Can't you see, can't you see 幸せの基準測るものさし自分の心の中にあるのさ You can find, you can find 足りないもの数えるくらいなら足りてるもの数えてごらんよ Count what you have now. Don't count what you don't have.
Welcome back, y'all. I'm realizing that I think all of the listings of that song on YouTube are rips. I don't know if there's an official version out there. It used to be on Spotify, where I used to play it, but it is no longer up there, and I don't know why. Either way, a very good song. Welcome back, y'all. I'm feeling a little bit more human. I did the thing of running from one job to another job and realized, again, 45 minutes into stream, oh wait, I didn't do that. Oh no, I didn't eat. Okay. But we're back, and we're back to learn about Rust. If I do some window management again. I'm also turning on reduce motion. Great. Okay. We're back. I use this a lot, and the swooshing was making me a little bit motion sick. So the fade should hopefully be a little bit nicer. Great. We have problem number 5. Let's take a look at our compiler here. Error mismatch type. Let number equal THREEE. Just 2 E's, not 3. THREE. Number equals 3. Expected string. Found integer. Cannot add integer to string. Now, the interesting thing is I'm assuming that this is integer value, given the syntax of the braces there. But then ampersand string, implying that this is a string, if I'm applying my C++ knowledge, a string alias. Where can we find the challenges in code to finish this later? They are, I really should not keep closing Firefox. Rustlings. This is a tool provided by Rust. And I'm going to drop the GitHub link in chat for all the challenges. Because I know I personally learn a lot better doing than reading. And doing, it goes doing, then a lecture, then reading for me. So I'm excited at the ability to do. Now here's the interesting thing. We can't change line 9, and we can't create a new variable on line 11. So I believe this is where we typecast. I think. Wait. Typecasting here makes no sense, because you can't cast 3 to a string and then add 2 to it. Yeah, this is actually a pretty cool way to learn Rust. I'm glad you like it, Phasic. You seem to have some Rust experience. I have none, so this is me going in learning with y'all. Are we supposed to... Expected string, found integer, cannot add integer to string. Yeah, I started learning this year too. Cool. I'm going to do help here. Oh, hint is what we're looking for. In variables 4, we already learned how to make an immutable variable mutable using a special keyword. Unfortunately, that doesn't help us much in this exercise because we want to assign a different typed value to the existing variable. Sometimes you may also like to reuse existing variable names. Oh. Okay. You can read more about shadowing in this book's section, Variables and Mutability, Shadowing. Let's take a look. I need Firefox. As you saw in the guessing game. You can declare a new variable with the same name as a previous variable. Oh, okay. Let me see if that works. That did work. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Shadowing is different from marking a variable as mutable because we'll get a compile time error if we accidentally try to reassign this variable without using the let keyword. By using let, we can perform a few transformations on a value, but have that variable be immutable after those transformations have been completed. The other difference between mute and shadowing is that because we're effectively creating a new variable when we use the let keyword again, we can change the type of the value but reuse the same name. Interesting. So two different ways of making sure, two different ways of changing the values in variables that have very different setups. Mobosto, welcome. Thanks for the follow. Phasic, another key Rust concept, variables are all static by default. If you want to change them, you must be explicit and declare them mutable. Rust is different than most programming languages in a few ways like this. Yeah, that's the thing that is taking me a sec. That I didn't realize that is how this works. Interesting. Mobosto, when's the next Rust lab and how often do they reoccur? Sorry, I'm just joining from MLH. I have not run one of these before, and this is not like an official thing that MLH does consistently. This is just an idea that I had for a set of streams. So this is not necessarily a thing that does or will reoccur. I'm sure if you want it to, you could bring it up in Discord and see what different MLHers say. But you can attend here. We're following Rustlings, so all of the tutorials are out there. I'm not the one who made this or created this. This is an existing resource. So all of that's there. And then also the recordings of these streams will be up on the YouTube channel. So those give you some options for this might not repeat, but you will still be able to do the content later. Great, okay. Thank you, Phasic. All variables are static. Great. We're now into variable 6. Const number equals 3. Missing type for const or static. Let const number, const number I32. Okay, that's what I assume the solution is. Great, okay. Let's what? Okay, here we go. We know about variables and mutability, but there's another important type of variables available, constants. Constants are always immutable, and they are declared with the keyword const rather than let. Constant types must also always be annotated. Cool. Great. We're now into functions 1. Not found in this scope. Okay. Def call me. That's my JavaScript brain. Or this is like a weird. That's Python. Function call me. This is JavaScript. I tried Python, I tried JavaScript. Let's take a look at the hint. This function is calling a function that expects to exist, but the function doesn't exist. It expects the function to have a name, expects the function not to take any arguments and return a value. This sounds a lot like main, doesn't it? Ah, I see what I was supposed to do here. I could have looked at our existing syntax to pull. Instead, I was just like, what if it's the same as JavaScript? Okay. fn call me. Great. Now, that compiles. Great. Okay. We're now to functions 2. Okay. We already have an error here. Expected type. Function main, call me, num. If we say I32. For I in 0, pure dot num. That's some interesting syntactic sugar there. Print line, bang, ring, call number I+1. Let's see. Oh wait, I need to save. Okay. Now, I'm curious, if we remove that type annotation completely, does this also compile? No. Okay. Great. So it requires a type annotation. 9 years ago, this was changed. That's, like, it makes sense, but very interesting. And again, I hope we return to this syntax here to get that range, because this for each loop is very nice. Okay, great. I am done. Functions 3. Okay. In this case, it looks like the error is just that we didn't add in the required parameter. If I do this, if I put in 5 there. Hey, oh look, great. Okay, I'm curious what their hint is here. Okay. What IDE are you using? Looks like Sublime. It is Zed. It's a funky one. Is Zed open source? Yeah, Zed is open source. Great. Written with Rust. Yes, I remember. Here we go. In January of 2024. This is when I learned of it, when it went from closed to open source. It's a very interesting macOS exclusive IDE because it renders at like 100 something frames per second. Like, it is designed to be incredibly fast. Okay. Great. That was function 3. Function 4. The store is having a sale, where if the price is an even number, you get 10 Rust bucks off, but if it's an odd number, it's 3 Rust bucks off. Don't worry about the function bodies themselves. We're only interested in the signatures for now. If anything, this is a good way to peek ahead to future exercises. So we have main, original price 51. And then we're printing out your sale price is, and then sale price, original price. Ah, this is interesting syntax for return types. I'm assuming that given that everything else is an I32, we're going to return an I32 here. I want to point out something here. This is a Z weirdness thing. This is syntactic or like sugar here, where you can see if I do the arrow, it combines it into one like character, rather than if we open up text edit. this is what you are probably familiar with it looking like. And in Z, it looks like that. It's just like a weird thing that they do. So it's the same arrow. They'll do the same with equals equals will be combined into the same thing, and we'll see if we do a greater than or equal to, it becomes a greater than or equal to sign, like on to mathematics. And then that double arrow becomes the same, like it just has some like combined symbols rather than doing it using just like simple one character stuff. Okay, I think that should have solved our problem here. But if I go into our terminal, great, okay, now that runs. I'm done. Function 5. I believe that this is because nothing's returning. So if we look at function 4, how is this returning? How was it returning? I'm looking here, we see price minus 10, but there is no price equals price minus 10. It's not minus minus, not minus equals. So I think that this is a return, that it returns price minus 10, just like it returns here if like the Boolean value that you get from this equality operator. But then why is that not working in this case? Is it the semicolon? I think it's the semicolon. I think that's the distinction. Yeah, that these didn't have a semicolon at the end of them. If we now go back to our terminal, hey, okay, it is working. Let's look at the hint here. It's a really common error that can be fixed by removing one character. It happens because Rust distinguishes between expressions and statements. Expressions return a value based on their operands, and a statement simply return a empty type, which behaves just like the void in C++ language. We want to return a value of i32 type from the square function, but it is returning a type. I don't know that. I want to be very clear that that is me making fun sound effects. That is not like, I don't know something about Rust that people go and like click their tongue to talk about that. I'm assuming that that's like void. Or I don't even know how you would pronounce that. If someone in chat knows how you pronounce this type, empty type, they're not the same. There are two solutions: add a return and remove the semicolon. So I removed the semicolon. If we add this back and we do return, because it was kind of disconcerting to see a function that didn't have a return statement. So I appreciate the return there. Great, and that's done with functions. It's called unit. That is not what I expected, but thank you, Phasic. What's next from functions? We're on to if. Okay, don't mind this from now. Oh. Wait. Rust just looks like C++ and JavaScript having a child. I mean, that's not wrong. It is like a modern language, so it is inspired by the languages that come before it. Rust can be surprising if you come from other languages. Surprising is a good word for it. One thing that I appreciate, though, is looking here, this looks like some built-in testing stuff, which is wonderful, especially coming from... I was using Python unit test, which is competent. I was okay with Python unit test. And now for my class, we're using, the instructor wrote their own testing library. And we're using that based on C++ macros. And it just feels very clunky, to say the least. So having like, hey, this looks like some nice testing. This doesn't look super ugly, super bad, super weird. And maybe this is installed through Cargo, but either way, testing is good, and I appreciate testing. Okay, complete this function to return the bigger number. Do not use another function call or additional variables. Well, we saw this before, where with the return, but that returned a Boolean. I was thinking we could just do A greater than B, but that would return a Boolean value. If A greater than B. Return A. Else return B. And those can have semicolons. It's a little bit verbose. I would use max, or this is a great example of using a ternary operator, but theoretically that should compile. Hey, great. Code is compiling and the tests pass. Cool that this has testing. Okay, ifs 2. Step 1, make me compile. Step 2, get bar for fuzz and default to baz tests passing. Okay. Physish. See, I wish that we had a little bit more description of what this was asking for. Okay. It is not going to give us a description of physish. So, foo if fizz. When past fizz. Okay, so if physish equals fizz, return foo. Now we have this else 1. And based on our hint, that is, I believe, yeah, expected string found integer. For that first compiler error, it's important in Rust that each conditional block returns the same type. To get the test passing, you will need a couple conditionals checking different input values. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to change this to an empty string, because it didn't tell us what it should be. Oh. We have it around here. Literally anything, baz. So else if physish is equal to fuzz, we return bar, else we return baz. That's not saved. There we go. That should be save. Hey, okay. Great. I do like this not requiring a parentheses. I'm assuming it will if you have more complicated things, but it was one of the things that I liked about Python is that parentheses was optional. That I dislike sometimes about C++ is the consistent need for that. Though that is entirely stylistic at that point. It's a very minor difference. I'm curious, for those of you following along right now, where are you located in this adventure that we're going on together? Miami. I meant if you were doing Rustlings with me, what challenge you were on. Miami, Boston. I'm in Ypsilanti, Michigan, just to complete the cycle. But I meant, where are you located in the progress of these challenges if you were doing Rustlings with me? Apologies for the confusion there, but it's always wonderful hearing all the different places that people are joining from. I just spun up a Rust dev container attempting to start. That is always smart. I'm slightly envious of people who have good, like, there's a concept in driving of lane discipline, which is like staying in the, like, not going all over the place a la American drivers and going in one lane to go one speed. Anyway, tangent. It's always interesting to hear about people, or like I'm envious of people who have good container discipline for all of their dev stuff. I just, maybe a couple months ago, it was a project I was doing on stream. Thank you. It was a project that I was doing on stream where I wrote like a Python bot and then I wanted to deploy it somewhere. And I realized that I hadn't used a virtual environment. And because of that, my like requires was huge because it was every pip package I had ever installed on my machine. So that was what convinced me to finally start using virtual environments with Python. And I didn't even think about that with this. So just spun up a Rust dev container. It comes with cargo. I will look into that in the future. My bad, I just joined, don't really know what's going on. There's nothing, my bad, you are not bad. Welcome, thanks for joining us. I'm gonna drop a link in chat. We are learning about Rust by using one of the tools that the Rust language provides us, which is called Rustlings, which is a local interactive, like there are a lot of languages that have interactive ways of learning the language. And in Rust, we have a local version through Rustlings. I'm also, do y'all see a disconnect between my mouth moving and my voice and what it is saying? Is there a delay between them? I see a delay on my screen, but I don't know if that's a thing that y'all see. I lost 3 years of work on a personal project because I had bad DevOps hygiene. That is a mood. No delay. Okay, that's great. This has happened a couple of times before. It is just local to my machine, I'm pretty sure. It's always good when other people, it's very disconcerting to look at an image of yourself with the mouth is different from what you're currently saying. Yeah, I will not be able to look at myself and talk and not go insane. Firemaster U, what? If you can make that a little bit more specific, I can answer your question. Currently, I don't know what you're asking about. No delay here, I am glad. My day job outside of MLH, I am a productions technician, so I'm very sensitive to things like mic feedback and video delay and things like that. Okay, but we have a problem in front of us. If and else have incompatible types. Okay. This is an incredibly descriptive compiler error. As compared to C++ compiler, oh my God. The number of times where it has been really unhelpful. This is incredibly helpful. So what we're looking for here, do not change this statement below. Ooh, interesting. Rust is weird. I mean, no comment there. It is definitely different. Rust compilers give lots of helpful hints and descriptive errors. Yeah, I am appreciating this. This is not, I didn't expect it to be painful per se, but I was expecting it to be more stressful. Though I will say that this is very much the simple level of the programming language. We've yet to get to any of the fancy stuff. Let identifier equal if animal equals crab, 1, 2, else unknown. Now I'm thinking that the solution here is just to like 4 or something else. And this would need to be 2. Okay, so that now compiles, but if that is still 2.0, is that a compiler error? Yes, it is. Okay. Expected floating point number, found integer. So they all need to be the same. And then I'm going to do the hint again, just to see. Great. In Rust, every arm of an if expression has to return the same type of value. Great. Simple enough. That is, and now we're done with if. That is the thing that's a little bit scary, is you can see up at the top here, it's giving us the progress bar, that we're moving through this fairly quickly. And I was expecting this to be a lot scarier. Again, I don't believe that we'll get through all of it over the course of our streams, but we'll get through a good chunk. Price, calculate price of apples, not found in the scope. Okay. What are we looking at? Quiz 1. We've gotten to a quiz. Interesting. Okay, this is a quiz for the following section. Variables, functions, if. Mary is buying apple. Oh, huh. The reason why it's not found is because it needs to be written. Mary is buying apples. The price of an apple is calculated as follows. An apple costs 2 rust bucks. If Mary buys more than 40 apples, each apple only costs 1 rust buck. Write a function that calculates the price of an order of apples given the quantity bought. Put your function here. Function calculate price of apples. we're going to be passed in num, which is going to be an int 32. And then if num is greater than 40, return num, else return to num. Whoa. No implementation for integer equals equals unit. We're passed in num as an I32 and we're returning num. And num is an I32. Why? No implementation for integer and unit. Would we want num by 2? So that we infer the type from num before we multiply? Nope, doesn't change a thing. If it had changed something, that would be gross and weird. Num type I32. If I just do this, theoretically that should be the same. Thank you. I did not set a return type. Well, there we go. Thank you, detective. Well done. Well sleuthed. Is Rust a low-level language? That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say so. Because Rust relies on a fairly complex compiler. There's also the interesting question of what is a low-level language. Rust is a compiled language rather than an interpreted language, and it compiles to directly to machine code. So it is a low-level language in the same way that C and C++ are low-level languages, rather than Python, JavaScript, Java, which require their own infrastructure to run. They can't be run directly on hardware. It is also used frequently for low-level operations. There's a project to rewrite the Linux kernel in Rust and things like that because of its safety and reliability tooling. Okay, we've finished quiz 1. And we're now into primitive types. Primitive types 1. Fill in the rest of the line. That is the code missing. No hints, no tricks. Just get used to typing these. Let is morning equals false. Help, a local variable with similar name exists is morning. Wait, I thought this was shadowing here, that we could... Oh, this should be is evening. As is here. Now I am curious why that is morning was not working. Because theoretically I should be able to reassign is morning to anything that I want using let. That's like what we learned about before with shadowing. It should be okay to do down here let is morning equal 5. Okay, and that compiles. I think the error was if I comment this line out. The error was that is evening is missing. Cannot okay, I was misreading these error messages. I was always looking at this, which is the help, but the error is up here. Cannot find value is evening in this scope. Great, okay. I better understand now. What theme are you using? Let's see. One dark. Yeah, one dark. I think when I was using this, I used Cave Dark as my main. On like my main computer. One dark is pretty enough. But I do think that I'm going to... Nope, no light mode. I do think I'm going to switch to Cave. It's just cozier. I used Zed for one of my C++ projects. But the lack of a visual debugger was what killed it for me. I did use LLDB, which is a GDC version for Mac. It's very different, but it does the same thing, a command line debugger for C++. Anyway, that's a tangent. Great, primitive types 1. Primitive types 2. Fill in the rest of the line that is the code missing. No hints. There's no tricks. Just get used to typing these. So the first one was Booleans, which is done by bool. Oh, I should type it just to practice that. Oh wait, that's the wrong line to put that on. Nope. There we go. Great. So here we're talking about chars. Note the single quotes that are different from the double quotes. Hey, I love a language that does single double quote differentiation, a la Java. I don't know if C++ does that. I have not done work with chars in C++. First initial C. If is alphabetical. If is numerical. Is alphabetic and is numerical is very useful to have as built-in tools. Great. Let give me a letter, chat. Any character, actually. Your favorite character. Ampersand. A good choice. I respect a good ampersand. Oh, boo. They want it to be Yorkshire. Character. Boring. Okay, but it works. Done. What's our next type? Ooh, question mark, question mark, question mark. Create an array with at least 10 elements in it, with at least 100 elements. Okay, I'm gonna try creating one smaller so I can see, I eat arrays like that for breakfast, and then what panic looks like. I'm assuming this is like an assert false sort of thing. But let's try creating an I32 array of length 10. I32 not a value. Interesting. So if I do that, oh, there we go. If I do this, Is that better or worse? Okay. Oh, the thread panicked. Whoa, that's intense. Okay, I know that Rust does good multi-threading stuff. I've never worked with a multi-threaded program before. So now if we make array 101. Oh wait, I didn't save. Z, terminal, Z, terminal. There we go. Okay. Whoa. Ah. This is an array with one element. 101. Now this is the question. Do I write out a 100 element long array to solve this question? Or do I learn the syntax? Now, here's where I will wonder. Can I do that? Okay, no, I cannot multiply integer array by integer. Let I wonder what. We'll look at the hint in a sec. I'm just trying to think, what other ways do I know of doing something like this? So that creates an empty array. And we couldn't do an I32 array like that. Now my question, can we do let a I32 array expected semicolon? That array syntax is not functional here. Let's get our hint. Ah, okay. Oh, okay. I don't know if I like this syntax or not. Because, so we saw this before when I did array times 100. In our error message, we saw cannot multiply integer and then that semicolon 1. And I didn't know, I thought that that was just the way that the compiler was denoting the length of the array. But it turns out that that is some interesting syntax. Cool. We're on to primitive types 4. Get a slice out of array where the question mark is so that the test passes. A dot slice, nope. A 1 2 5. Nope. Let's get our hint. Take a look at understanding ownership slices. The slice type. Slices let you reference a contiguous stream of elements in a collection rather than the whole collection. A slice is like a kind of reference, so it does not have ownership. Here's a small programming problem. Write a function that takes a string of words separated by spaces and returns the first word it finds in that string. If the function doesn't find a space in the string, the whole string must be one word, so the entire string should be returned. Ah, the dot syntax is what they use for that slice. Okay. This code right up here was, I just skipped it because it was too unwieldy, and I knew that we would be learning better syntax in a sec. So start being 1, 2, 5. That should be 2 to 5. The size for values of type integer cannot be known at compile time. Consider borrowing here. Now I know of this syntax as giving you a pointer. Failure, slice out of array, panicked. Left equals right, failed. Oh, I did have it right the first time. I forgot that this is a 0, 1 indexed. Like, yes, okay. I was messing up the indexing in my head. Now, I don't know what borrowing here means. So let's go back to our Firefox. What is ownership? This is why I really don't like learning based on text, because this is an extreme wall of text. Okay, we're Googling it. I know that there's like some peak, it's not necessarily laziness, but to have the documentation up in front of me and to go, I'm not reading all of this. Most of the time, we'd like to access data without taking ownership over it. To accomplish this, Rust uses a borrowing mechanism. Instead of passing objects by value, objects can be passed by reference. Cat, I just looked over. You were so close to catching me. That was really good timing for me focusing on this. I have 20k points. I accidentally left points on in between my last stream and now, so I refunded everything that happened in the last month. So you got a bunch of bonus points. Welcome back, Kat. The compiler statically guarantees that references always point to valid objects. Oh, whoa, interesting. References always point to valid objects. That is, while a reference to an object exists, the object cannot be destroyed. Points. Let me share my screen. This is my like streaming interface here, but I just want to show you this. If you click on channel points there, you should have this pop up, and you can use those to redeem sound effects on stream. They only work on my stream, but you get them from watching any stream. Just like that. Pharaoh, LOL, it just looks like a lot of text. I'd highly recommend the Rust book because it has a lot of examples and explains a lot of the atypical concepts in Rust that are different from other languages. Thank you, Phasic. And I do agree that the book is probably very good. Half of this is being on stream and understanding that me staring at this reading out loud for 5 minutes to 10 minutes or however long it would take me to read all of this would be very boring. And also it is like, yeah, this like fear of reading really bad documentation before, but having a reference, a recommendation that it is good documentation is very helpful. This text though is very useful. And if we go back up to ownership, this is Rust by example is shorter text. Dang, Kat, I caught you both times. You've done some really good timing there, but it's just been luck of the draw. This has been a very good brief description, and then you can look at the code later, but we're doing the challenges to get the code. Because variables are in charge of, oh my goodness, RAII, resource allocation is instantiation. Resource Acquisition is initialization. Dang, okay. I knew that I wouldn't remember it exactly. We have talked about this in class just recently. I had just had my midterm on Wednesday, so I still have a lot of the minutia rattling around in my brain. Okay. Variables in Rust do a lot more than just hold data on the stack. They own resources, e.g. box T owns memory in the heap. Rust enforces RAII, so whenever an object goes out of scope, its destructor is called and its owned resources are free. Okay. This behavior shields against resource leak bugs, so you'll never have to manually free memory or worry about memory leaks again. Cool. Oh! That took me a hot sec, but I just understood what it meant here with borrowing being that we don't want to take ownership. In essence, we don't want to create another copy of that data that we need to deal with deleting. We only want one location of that data to own it so that we know when to delete it when it goes out of scope, but we can reference it in other places without taking ownership. That is very elegant. I don't know what witchcraft they're doing in the compiler so that it knows how to do this, but that is very cool. Because again, so much of my class that, again, taught in C++, is talking about like, here's how you avoid memory leaks. Here's how you avoid dangling pointers. Here's how you avoid all of these different things. Okay, ownership and moves. Because variables are in charge of freeing their own resources, resources can only have one owner. This prevents resources from being freed more than once. Note that not all variables own resources, e.g. references. Makes sense. When doing assignment, let x equals y, or passing a function argument by value, the ownership of the resources is transferred. In Rust speak, this is known as a move. After moving resources, the previous owner can no longer be used. This avoids creating dangling pointers. Interesting. So let x equals y gets rid of y. Okay, I'm sure we're going to learn more about that. There's a joke there, Batu, that I don't entirely understand. RAII is why the White House likes Rust. How is RAII? How is...
In this video, we're going to be talking about RAII, or Resource Acquisition is Initialization. The concept itself is pretty simple. I think
I really like this cartoon here. Very good. Don't let me derail the lesson. I literally have a button in my channel point rewards that I'm going to redeem right now.
Tangent alert! Tangent alert!
Because I go on tangents so frequently. One thing that I've said before, and I will say again, is that the point of these streams, at least my streams, are not to be these like lessons that you attend, but rather to just be like hanging out with the community. In this case, I don't know Rust. I am learning Rust with y'all. We are learning it together. We are being exposed to things together. Y'all have helped me understand things. I have talked about things. It's a very like mushy, squishy space where we all just get to exist and hang out. So you making a joke and me going, I want to understand your joke. I truly want to understand your joke, and I'm willing to take time to talk about it. You don't need to, we aren't in like a classroom environment where you need to worry about like, I don't know, a path towards secure. Oh, you mean that I thought it was a joke, that it was something about something, but no, it's literally, dang. Securing the building blocks of cyberspace. Guys, I think MLH has infinite points. I do. I have infinite points. Or MLH has infinite points. I personally don't have that many points. My moderator count has 6.5k, which Shem puts to shame. But yeah, the MLH account has infinite points. But yeah, that's really interesting. This is a document that I was just shared by Batu. Rust, one of a memory-safe programming language, has the 3 requisite properties above, but has not yet been proved in space systems. Interesting. I'm not going to read this. on stream, or really ever, because I don't see the use in reading the White House's lecture on memory safe programming languages, but it is cool and interesting. And that is a lot of, as I've been talking to more and more like professional career software developers, I have learned more and more about how scary tech debt is. And yeah, the idea of writing code that stays safe for a very long time is very appealing. Okay, ownership and moves. We read this. Mutability. Mutability of data can be changed when ownership is transferred. Interesting. Really interesting. So when we move the box, we can change ownership and mutability. And when I'm blanking on the Rust term for it. When we shadow a variable, we can completely redefine everything. Interesting. Okay. So we are, this is not shadowing, this is moving, because it's not that the variable name is the same, if I can find it again. Scoping rules, here we go. It's not that the variable name is the same. Mutable box is not the same variable, but it is now owning immutable box. And we can modify what it contains using that same pointer syntax. Ooh, this is complicated and interesting. Partial moves. When destructuring a single variable, both by move and by reference, pattern bindings can be used at the same time. Oh, when destructuring a single variable, both by move and by reference, pattern bindings can be used at the same time. Doing this will result in a partial move of the variable, which means that parts of the variable will be moved while other parts stay. Oh. I both understand how this is like the next step of that, but I also really don't like this, because to restate, if I understand this correctly, we can create a new person, and that person contains, if I'm reading this correctly, 2 values on the heap. I actually don't know if these are heap or not, but it doesn't especially matter for this. I believe so, because RAII only applies to heap stuff. If it's not on the heap and it's just in the stack, then when it moves out of scope, okay, so these are heap variables. I'm like 90% sure on that. And when we reference, wait, let person, what? I don't understand what this code is doing. And it is because it is using structs and some other things that we have not been introduced to yet. So I'm just going to stick my thumb up in the air and say I kind of partially understand this borrowing concept. And it compiles, so we can move on to the next challenge, and I'm sure we will be reintroduced to this at a future time. Primitive types 5. No. Oh, no. It's now asking us to do the thing that I didn't understand. Okay. Destructure the cat tuple so that the print line will work. Now, can I do this? Let name age. That is just totally broken. Okay. Let person name ref age. Let tuple name age. Now if I do this, I don't know if that is exactly what we need. That seems like witchcraft. Let name age equal cat. If I hover over name here, name is a string and age is a F64. So I believe, okay, so what we've done is we've created two new variables, name and age, and they are equal to the different parts of cat that they correspond to. Okay, I kind of understand that. Primitive type 6. Use a tuple index to access the second element of numbers. You can put the expression for the second element where question mark, question mark, question mark is so that the test passes. Numbers 2. Help. To access tuple elements, use period 2. Okay. Oh, but we want the second element. So it's 1 indexed or 0 indexed. So period 1. Which that makes sense. Because if I had a struct that was with 3 elements, I would use dot. But does that mean that I can also use dot to get values from arrays? Let chars equal A, B, and C. Let character equal chars dot 1. Print line character. Instead of using tuple indexing, use array indexing. Okay, I don't like now that it just that is different. I don't understand the use of that yet. You might be missing a string literal to format with. Oh, I didn't know that you needed to do that. Okay. Great. Okay. Again, better understanding, but also I have yet to see this in a use that like makes a lot of sense of why. But that is a thing that you gain with experience with the language, not necessarily by doing the practice problems for the language. With that, we've just finished primitive types, and we have 7 minutes left. Let me see what the next one is and how many parts it has, and we'll see if we can do the next one. Vex. Okay, vector only has 2 parts. We're going to finish vector, and then we're going to end the stream. Your task is to create a vec, which holds the exact same elements as the array A. Make me compile and pass the test. With the macro for vectors. Okay. I'm definitely looking at the hint here. In Rust, there are 2 ways to define a vector. One is to use the vec_new function to create a new vector and fill it with the push method. The second way, which is simpler, is to use the vec!brackets macro and define your elements inside the square brackets. Oh, I've heard of macros in Rust. I have a friend, or I knew someone when I was a freshman who was really into Rust and talked a lot about macros. Okay. So if we vec 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, that needs a semicolon, and we save. Okay, that compiles. Now vec2. A vec of even numbers is given. Your task is to complete the loop so that each number in the vec is multiplied by 2. For element in v iter mute. Now I'm thinking v at, oh, but we're given element. We aren't doing this by index, we're doing this by reference. Can we just then do element times equals 2? Okay. Binary assignment operation. I am not trying to do binary assignment. Cannot multiply the reference to, okay, because it is a reference to a mutable I32. Okay, let's look at the hint here. Oh, the dereference operator. I theoretically knew that because this is a reference. Interesting. Oh. There we go. Element is a reference. Element should be set equal to the oh, wait. I think in the future, for next stream, I'll need to look at really the definition of okay. The value of element is equal to the value of element times 2. Element times 2. Great, okay. I understand now. So this is, we are treating this reference like a pointer. So we need to dereference it to get its value and set its value equal to its value times 2. And then here, this, we haven't learned enough for me to understand that one yet. But with that, that is the amount of time that we have. Thank you all so much for coming. I know that this is one of my probably more dry streams recently, but I hope that you learned something about Rust, and specifically, we're hopefully joining me doing some Rustlings yourself and maybe continuing it outside of streams. My next stream is going to be tomorrow at a time, but I don't know which time off the top of my head. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So whatever time today started for you, 2 hours before that. And we'll go to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then part 3 of our Rust adventure is going to be on Sunday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So the next 2 days, you're going to be joining me, hopefully. I'm going to be here again doing more Rust, and I hope you join me. Until then, what's coming up after this? Right after this is nothing for a couple of hours. At 5 hours from now, I believe. Yeah, 5 hours from now, you're going to have create a voting system with Next.js and smart contracts with David. Until then, if you are not in the MLH Discord, you can join it by going to discord.mlh.io. And until next time, thank you all for coming. Happy hacking and keep it crispy. I know there's a delay, so I'm waiting to see if anyone has any last questions, last goodbyes. Thank you, Phasic, for coming and helping, giving all of the good context. have a great night, y'all. Bye. Happy hacking. Keep it crispy.